Well, there's the hospital. You can see it this morning. So we're up and we slept phenomenally well. I think after doing a drive for many hours, you will. Today we are going to attempt the rest of the drive. So this is going to be about 13 hours, which is not the longest I've ever driven, but it's the longest I've driven in quite a long time. And we'll see if we can't get, we don't want to stop in Indiana, but we definitely don't want to stop in Illinois. There's no way we want to stop in Illinois. Not a good idea. So we're gonna see if we can crush it and be in Missouri tonight. Awesome. Also, if for some reason this video actually gets uploaded at the end of today, then I'm completely certifiably nuts, which is, it's actually the same way it is normal.
Sometimes you're not awake and you see things that aren't really there. We just came out of the elevator and I looked at this lovely sign, which is totally a normal sign. And I read, this is a stolen tree location.
This is a stolen tree location. That was good.
It is a stolen tree location.
Got the car loaded. It is it is 7:30. So we lounged around, you know, we didn't get up. It is what it is. This kind of reminds me of when we used to go to like nightclubs 15, 20 years ago. Yeah. And wear all the goth masks and the gas masks you used to do in your photography.
Yep. It's a little bit more comfortable than those.
True. So T is just dropping the keys off at the touchless key thing. We only walked by a few people in the hall. We were wearing masks and stayed at the other side. I will say though, like, geez, everybody's friendly out here. It's real nice. See the fog in the background? I get some mist. It is 40 degrees here this morning.
All right. Just give me a minute.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
a method to
The madness.
my...
So if you guys saw the shot of the windshield wiper, I was supposed to get the mist or the dew on the windshield, and then of course
Missed that. Everything in Missouri is weird. I mean, it's...
We haven't even been there yet. She's already picking on
So
it.
everything is... There's like a town name, and then there's a township, and then there's a county. It's very confusing.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah. So we're going to Kingdom City in McCreary Township, which doesn't mean that much to me. But really, I just picked an intersection. So that's 11 and a half hours. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, that's even better than 13. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, because we're just going to cross right over into Missouri because we can't stay at the hotel that we chose tonight. They don't have a room.
Yep.
So, oh, here, look,
Thank
fresh.
you. Oh my God, that's amazing.
So we're just gonna cross right over into Missouri, choose a city that is low key.
Low viral load, and we're gonna do the keyless, you know, not in-person check-in that we did like tonight. I am impressed at how friendly people are. Just walking by in the hall, like, oh, good morning. I'm like, hey. Oh yeah, right, we're not in Boston.
It takes me a minute.
Whatever. I'm gonna rush. We gotta get there so we can get there early.
I'm trying to avoid major cities, so I'm trying to map a route that avoids major cities. Ooh, maybe we can stop in Hannibal.
That sounds like a lovely idea.
Yeah.
Ready when you are, Sergeant Pembry.
Yep. Yep.
God, I love coffee.
Yeah.
Oh my God, do I love coffee.
Sorry, I'm not awake enough for this. I haven't had a sip of coffee yet.
So we tried to go to the CVS. We thought it would open at 8. Welcome to the Midwest. It opens at 9.
That's kind of weird.
So I was gonna do a time lapse, but I figured you guys want to see this fog, eh?
Cool. Holy crapola.
Crapola. I love crapola.
This is like, I can't even see what's under this bridge.
So,
It's so thick.
if you guys think you're seeing more than us at home, I got news for you. Or less than us at home. This is what this looks like. Holy smoke. It's some fog.
Some fog there.
Here in the Midwest, they put galvanized steel plate inside the bathroom so that no one can cut any holes, you know. So, for those of you who don't know, I don't usually get blueberry stuff.
He calls it fartberry.
I call it fartberry because, like, a lot of times if you drink blueberry flavored like water or something, for me it just smells like a fart. So we got the most horrifying thing ever. It's oven roasted blueberry almonds.
Because, you know.
And T said, I can't even imagine what that tastes like.
So
And
they decided we should
so I had to
try.
get them, so we're gonna try them later. Gross. So we're in a part of Ohio right now. I gotta tell you, if you're from New England, and if you're in New England, you never see anything further than maybe 200 yards tops. Like, if you're seeing something 200 yards in New England, that's weird. There's a few places on the North Shore where there are farms that you can see like 300 yards. But we're now out in Ohio, which is in an area that I think you could see for 1,000+ yards. It was crazy. My brain couldn't process it. Also, not the biggest fan of Ohio, I gotta be honest with you. No disrespect to the wonderful people of Ohio, but not my favorite place. They get signs on the highway, drug traffickers go directly to jail. I'm like, holy smoke. Although they do have the longest running outdoor passion play in the entire country, I guess. So it's not my faith system, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I like theater and I like public theater. So if I had more time, I might actually check it out. We're gonna try the fart snack.
Fart snack.
Fart snack, which is the blueberry almonds. I think a lot of blueberry stuff just smells like a weird fart. So let's have a review. I've torn open the package. Oh, that actually smells like fruit. Okay, so this might be a thing. This could be wrong. Although I'm really not too sure how
Trash bags over here.
this is gonna be.
It does smell like blueberries. Which doesn't
That's
really...
actually delicious.
Uh-oh.
Oh my God, is that good?
Not bad.
Yeah, it's got a lot of sugar in it, that's why.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't know why you were
And these
picking
nuts are purple. I'm not that bright. She babysits me. These are good.
Oh, because don't eat them all, because I need more.
I'm gonna have a little bit more than you got the rest. She wasn't gonna get them.
Because I knew they had a lot of sugar.
That's like the crispiest blueberry muffin top.
It does kind of have that feeling. You got a truck behind there.
That's right. I haven't put my seatbelt on yet. for the finest in dining in Central West Ohio, Speedway. That's actually not what we're eating. We're eating chicken salad, having a break. Gonna switch over, have tea drive. It's nice to break it up. We've done over 200 miles, done over 250, I think. We're closing on 300. We got like 450 roughly left to go. She's gonna drive for a couple hours. I'm gonna take a break and then I'll crush the end of it. Not that we're tired necessarily, it just seemed like the right thing to do right now. So yay. The auction is still up on Brand Grand Farms. It will be until Sunday. I did post a new video this morning to the YouTube channel. And yeah, so it's good. So that's successful so far. A lot of vultures, a lot of raccoons. Very interesting. A lot of grain silos. This is backwards for what you guys are usually watching. And away we go. This is Beaver Dam. That's the town hall right there. This is gonna sound a little offensive, and it's not really meant to. Look, it's a tiny cemetery. That's not the offensive part. A little death never hurt anybody. Petite mort. Never mind. Forget it. That's an adult discussion. Listen. So we are now in Indiana, which is
cornfields.
It's cornfields, just like most of Ohio was. You know, when people talk about farming, we're just talking about this real quick. Is that basically a lot of what you're seeing here with cornfields? A lot of this is subsidized. The government wants you to grow corn, and the reason it wants to do that is because it's a cash crop. Remember all the eco people back in 2007? If you don't remember, they were pushing for ethanol to be added to gasoline, and that was going to save the planet. And of course, later on, they found out that no, that's not going to save the planet. That's actually doing even more damage. You can't keep applying reductionist logic and get yourself out of this mess. It just doesn't work. Growing corn, we don't eat corn. Traditionally, indigenous people who ate corn fermented it. They did things to it to break it down so it was digestible.
Added lime.
They added lime. You know, there's processes to, like, it's like quinoa. People are like, oh, quinoa is the new future grain. And we had eaten quinoa a bunch of times and found that it upset our stomachs because you have to either ferment it or cook it in a high pressure cooker to fracture it. That doesn't mean it's not edible. It just means that you stick with more indigenous, I'm going to get this language down by the end of this trip. Indigenous peoples, the styles in which they did things, you're going to get better results. And, oh, look at that. That's pretty. Probably just made everyone nauseous. You can't keep pulling corn out of the soil and then grow some sort of BS cover crop and hope that that's going to replace all the corn extract. If the corn has a lot of properties and you're extracting a lot of nutrients and carbon and you're just planting seeds, you're not adding carbon. You're taking carbon out every single time. Eventually that's going to deplete the soil to the point where it won't grow. Ohio and Indiana, I'm going to throw this out there to you, used to have, like 180 years ago, had grizzlies. They used to have grizzly bears out here. And if you look at this terrain, you could see how this is more like the plains. This is like the you know, people are like, you're in the plains or you're not in the plains. It's savanna, it's grassland. You would have had large herds of animals out here. And that's what made this so fertile. And it is decreasingly so as time goes on. If you want to fix this, you stop subsidizing corn. You know, you replace all these fields from you could feed so many people and grow so much forage and sequester so much carbon if you changed over the farming here from corn to rotational grazing. Is that your answer to everything? Yeah, kinda. Also, there's a speed limit sign. There's 2 speed limit signs. I like that, 70 and 65. So
there was some notation on the 65.
There's notation. The 65 has to do with trucks, but it's always good to make it interesting, I guess. we're kind of just talking about the fact that the attitude among I think the attitude as far as laws and whatnot is very different. The second you enter Ohio, we noticed a lot of police presence. The state cops in Ohio have very little tolerance, and that seems to be the same thing in Indiana. They're not playing. So if you're driving through here, I would advise you to be careful. And there's some part back there in, I think, Huntington or whatever. I'll be able to look at it. But out here they have if you're found recklessly driving, and they have very interesting definitions for what this means. $1,000 fine or 6 years in prison. And then a few towns ago it went up to 8 years in prison. They didn't change the amount of money, so they don't think that you have that much money, but they're willing to threaten you with 8 years in prison. You know, New England drivers, we drive 20 miles an hour over the speed limit in school zones. Well, out here, they take it very seriously. Also, I think it's Huntington. I'm gonna have to look it up. I couldn't get a photo of it. Is that they literally had a sign on the side of the road. You're good. They had a sign on the side of the road that said that you're not guaranteed a freedom from religion, just a freedom of religion. I don't know what that means.
Yeah. We're gonna hammer our religion down your throat because we can.
Well, they recognize freedom of religion, right? So
you're free to participate in your own religion, but you're not free to not have us try and convince you that you're wrong.
Maybe, yeah. You know that the freedom of religion thing is kind of woven into the fabric of this country. So if your religion is, you know, Methodist, great, we're heathens. I mean, if you were a trans, vegan, separatist, solipsist or something, and that was your religion, there's nothing they could do with you, and you could really screw them with it too. There were several friends of ours, people we knew back in the day, who helped found the Church of Body Modification, which is technically a religion, and we believe that you have the right and you have the evolutionary nature to modify your body. But if more people use and I'm not saying it's out, but the religious aspect to be able to do what they want to do, because it is their belief system, there would be less intrusive ways that they could step on you out here. Does that make sense? Like, if for religious reasons, let's say you're Rastafari and you have to smoke marijuana, if I were you, I'd get a good lawyer out here, get on it, and sue them. Because if they're going to hide behind religion as a justification to do whatever they want, that's true for all of us, isn't it? Just a thought. Although I do think it's important to point out, since I mentioned that thing about religion, as heathens, we don't have a problem with anybody else's religion. We just don't want anybody else's religion forced on us, and we don't force ours on anybody else. But if you like the Jesus and you're a Christian, God bless you. That's great. Like, my grandmother was a Christian. Some of the Joel Salatin's like the ideal Christian. I think there's a lot of there's one of the things I hate about the city and I hate about populated areas is they bag on Christianity all the time. And the only problem I've ever had with religion is when it was a cult environment that I was raised in and it was forced down my throat. But if people come to it on their own and it makes them happy and it brings them joy and comfort, I think that's a good thing. I really do. I just don't think it's good when it's used to step on others. But I think when you look at an entire faith and you think they all just step on people, I think that's pretty close-minded. That's not a good thing. So here's a random observation, kind of. Where we live in New England, and I got family up in Maine, and New England itself, but Maine in particular, is really choked with woods, a lot of growth. Maine itself is so relatively flat and has so much growth that you walk into the woods off the Appalachian Trail, and that sometimes is the last time you're ever seen alive. People are warned about this. You hunt in the North Woods of Maine, you better have navigation with you, because you can't get up high enough to see anything. It's not like New Hampshire or Vermont. You can't get up to elevation and see anything. Well, I just had an experience that for people in the Midwest is probably not uncommon, but it's the first time I've ever seen it. Where I can literally see tens of acres of corn. And there was one strip that it was so far that it just went on for, like, in one direction, it went on for, it looked like miles. And the corn, because I am not a tall human being, was definitely over my head in height. So all I could think to myself is, if I was injured or parched and not doing good and trying to get to civilization, you could walk through that corn till you die and not find your way out. Like, maybe if you're looking down a row, you can see it, but wow. I've never seen corn that could be deadly. That's just weird. But there's so much of it that if you were not in good shape and having difficulty, let's say you broke down on the side of the highway and you made the idiot decision to walk through a field to get to a farmhouse, you get turned around at all, you're done. And I'm sure that's not something people think about a lot, but it's something. It certainly is something. Just drove by an area where there's like a lot of big professional granaries. I mean, I talked about seeing grain silos, and then what I just saw, what I took pictures of, kind of hurts my brain. If you're from New England, you're not going to understand this because we don't see them that often. But we're passing a train. It's moving. We've been passing this train now. Oh, I don't know. 10 minutes. It's got to be 3 miles long. It's unreal. It looks like at the front of it there are 3 or 4 locomotives, we haven't gotten that far yet, that are pulling this thing. Like, when we have trains in the Northeast, they're like, a big train's like 200 cars, I think, or something. And keep in mind that I'm not going to tell you where, but the town we live in is directly connected to the railroad industry for the Northeast.
I did have to wait at an intersection for 10 minutes for a train to go by once. It was really.
But I'm going to video this because this is unreal. What you're seeing is the front of it. It goes forever. It literally goes for like the last couple miles. And zooming in right now on the train car, the engine's pulling it. So it looks like it's got 3 engines pulling it. Yeah, 3 engines. Look at that. My cousin Mikey would dig this. Norfolk Southern. Wow. That is a big train. I do like trains, especially steam locomotives. I feel like if you're going to move product, trains, you just do it more effectively on a train. I really wish we'd get our rail systems back up and functioning and focus on like high-speed rail and stuff, because there's a lot of this country I think you do a lot better with just using a train to get places. So the train bridge you just saw is in Delphi, Indiana. And all I want to know is that there's a company, I don't even know if they're still in business, called Oracle. And I want to know if they have a location here. I'm not going to spell that out for you, I'm just saying. We figured out what the plant is that they're planting, and it's a legume of some sort. A legume.
Some kind of bush bean, it looks like.
This is a bush bean. Hold on, I'll turn you around. fixed nitrogen.
Cover crop.
Cover crop, fixed nitrogen. Because as you keep pulling things out of the soil, you weaken the soil. So you got to fix it. If you did rotational grazing on that, the land would get better and you'd raise more food. Or you could just plant more corn. God, there's a lot of corn. If you're ever worried if we're going to run out of corn, it's not going to happen. Yeah.
There's more corn than all the humans and all the animals that aren't supposed to eat corn can possibly eat.
That actually was the worst, but I didn't get a video or photo of it. We drove by, like, we actually saw a bunch of black Angus cattle. And they're literally in a field of what looks like alfalfa and legumes, but they've got a grain feed trough that's wheeled into them.
Yep. So that makes a whole ton of sense.
Bingo. So for you guys watching at home, just miles of it. I mean, it's been on the highway for, what, 5-6 hours, just corn?
Yeah.
And it was through a lot of Pennsylvania, but this is just, it's just corn.
We're now down in it on a smaller road.
So this back road, this is a back road. The speed is 55 miles an hour. T is good, she keeps to speed limits, and she's been going 5 miles over the speed limit, and people are on our butt, like they're parked there, and passing us in commercial vehicles doing at least 65 or 70. And here's the thing I can't figure out. Like, you're next to all this corn, right? If a deer comes bounding out of here, how do you stop?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Look at that. It's crazy. It just goes on forever. Those are more the beans and the legumes and the younger. It just goes on forever. It's crazy. And surprise, they're the 100,000th corn grain silo I've seen yet. Tons of these.
Driving through this crazy just fields and fields and fields of corn and then nitrogen fixers to repair the soil meagerly, I can totally understand how we're losing so much soil every year, because this is insane. Like, there is no natural place on earth that is this many thousands, tens of thousands of acres of a single plant or two, because you've got corn and then you've got your bean thing. Especially knowing that most of this corn is going to make ethanol and feed for animals that don't eat grain. Like, what a waste.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Of earth, land, like, how all of it is subsidized by the government, so like
these people
are barely making a living, but it's their only option, because if you don't have a farm, you have nothing.
Right.
So, like, how the government has really railroaded people into this is the only way, because out here I bet you can't even get an agricultural loan for land unless your plan is to farm it for corn, because your local agriculture folks don't think that there's any other way to do it.
And to put it in perspective, today we are closing in on having driven 500 miles today. And for at least 200 or 300 miles of Pennsylvania, corn. Not quite like this, but corn. Ohio, corn. We drove through all of Ohio. I saw nothing but corn. And occasional legumes, and then corn. Like, aside from the fact that this is just a miserable thing to have to do, like T said, like, what control do you have? What do you have? What are your options? And if you tried something and it didn't work, like, what if this stuff's been treated and it's...
Well, and you know that this is, GMO, hyper fertilized with chemicals,
10.
tons of insecticides and fungicides and pesticides and a million different chemicals. This land is dying.
Yep.
And the only thing that they can think to do is keep doing what they're doing.
Hold on, I gotta show people this. Look at the size of that thing. You ever seen one of those? That's what we're talking about.
Like, that is insanity, in my opinion. It's totally crazy. And you can tell, I mean, other than the fact that this is tens of thousands of acres or whatever, all of these are labeled. Each little area has a label on it with a number and the company that owns it.
And most of these are, it looks like the symbol for sulfur that Manson uses, and it's I just forgot the name of the company. It's probably best I don't say it, but it's one company now, at least for the last hour, has owned this. So you know that all these farmers here, they just get an order like, hey, you don't plant this year, or you only harvest half your field. That's what we're paying you to do, and they do what they're told, and there's nothing else, you know. But there's nothing out here. Like, if you're a young person out here, I feel like it's no surprise that the heartland of this country is becoming an opiate addiction center, because what else do you have to do? Your emotional well-being is probably garbage. Also, I will say, with kind of a plus,
I think we're crossing into Illinois.
We're crossing into Illinois. Here it is.
Picture.
We're gonna do that. The land of Lincoln. Yeah, so, I mean, if you're out here, I don't know, like, it doesn't look like there's much human interaction. We've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of churches, so I could see that. And out here, I think that makes sense, but just wow. And I don't want anyone's feelings hurt, but I had never been to Indiana. This is the first time I've ever been to Illinois. I gotta be honest, guys, it's exactly what I thought it would be. The only thing I'm thinking is, if you grew up here and you weren't absolutely in love with and immersed in agriculture, specifically growing corn, I feel like you suffered. I'm just saying, like, holy smoke.
Yeah.
There's just nothing. We're from New England, so I'm trying to think of big crops in New England, and one of the biggest crops in New England is cranberries. And I grew up down near Cape Cod on the South Shore of Massachusetts, where I had a English/history teacher, Mr. Fernandez, one of the greatest teachers in the history of the world, and he was a cranberry farmer. And I mean, I get it, but if you told me there was a place on the South Shore that you could drive for an hour and see nothing but cranberry bogs, I would do it at least once, just to say I did it. We've been driving for hours and hours, and that's exactly what it is. And it's the sad thing is a lot of the farmhouses are like kind of beautiful. Like, a lot of them have, we actually passed on, again, a photo out of them, I was too busy gawking, like log cabin farmhouses, and there's no way they were less than 100 years old. The style of how they built it was definitely axe-hewn log, so it was, I'd say, at least 100 plus years, probably closer to 200 years. They had been outfitted with new roofs, but like when you think of a traditional, like, ancient log home, with the flat logs, with the thick chinking in between the logs, that's the mortar type stuff they put in between. That, I've never seen anything like that. Like, not a functional building. And these had brand new roofs, up to date, but they were old log houses. Amazing, beautiful. Unfortunately, though, monocrops, just monocrops. So sad. So, I'm about to start driving again. We stopped by Casey's General Store. Back in the 1880s, they had I think it was a raccoon festival here. Yeah, I don't know, actually, no. I don't know anything about Casey's, but if you're here, come to Casey's, because they got gasoline.
Yep, and a bathroom.
And a bathroom.
Which is important.
Yeah. You know, I said that Indiana's got a lot of corn and Ohio has a lot of corn. Well, this may shock you, but Illinois,
Lots of corn.
there's a lot of corn. Also, we passed by a fire on the side of the road that I can only assume was from a spark being thrown off of a train. It was next to train tracks. And it was just burning. Like, just burning away. And half me was like, maybe I should call someone. But it like looked like there was 50 feet of like burn going on, and that had all turned to ash, and it was just cindering away. So I'm usually a Boy Scout about these things, and I just call the police. But there's no way I'm calling the police, because I don't even know, like, what would I tell them? Like, hey, I don't know if you can tell by my accent, but I'm not from around here. We're near some corn and there's a fire. That's about the best I can do. Okay, thanks. No idea.
Yeah.
We thought we were staying in...
Because maps, sometimes it's difficult to read them.
It is.
Pretty much looking at Missouri, I was trying to find a hotel for us to get to tonight. So the place we're staying tomorrow didn't have a room tonight. So I was like, we'll just get like right over the border into Missouri and we'll get a hotel and it'll be great. And then we won't have very far to drive tomorrow. Except like there aren't any hotels that aren't in major cities pretty much. They're like the place that we're staying tomorrow through Sunday. And then there's Columbia, which is another city that is a college town that has a higher infection rate. And then it's like St. Louis and Kansas City. And those are the only places that have hotels, and we're not going there.
Realistically,
So,
with the... Yeah.
I thought I was choosing a hotel in Missouri, like literally right over the border in Missouri. Except I was actually choosing a hotel in Iowa. Like this tiny little, like literally it's probably like 2 miles of wide little span of Iowa. And there's a hotel there. Because I think there's a community college there.
We want to avoid the cities because of the virus, but we also want to avoid it because of civil unrest.
Mm-hmm.
And so we drove past around Indianapolis,
Right.
because we just wanted no part of it.
Because I was like, oh well, our hotel's kind of in the northern part of Missouri, so if we cut like straight across Illinois and Indianapolis, Indiana, and avoid the major cities, not even driving through them, but just like 10, 20 miles north of them. I didn't know that it was going to then be like 400 miles of cornfields.
It is.
It might still be if you had gone through Indianapolis, and I forget which Illinois city. Doesn't matter. But yeah, I definitely did not realize it was going to literally be like of our 800 miles today. It's probably actually like 600 miles of corn.
If you're in New England, you have like very rarely, we got Route 20 near Worcester. That's a non-divided like 4-lane highway where they can get up to 55 miles an hour, and it's a death zone. It's dangerous. Out here, you go 70 miles an hour, and it just is a cross street. Is there a light? Nah, no light. Just, go for it.
Yeah.
Holy smoke.
More corn.
There is. There's more corn. I haven't seen corn yet. I don't even know. What do you guys do for fun?
Yeah,
Drugs? Because I can see it.
probably.
So we just crossed over historic Route 66.
I don't really know what that means, but
you know, you can get your kicks on Route 66.
Yeah.
If you find excitement driving Route 66, you might want to look into stamp collecting too.
Also fun.
Also fun.
Oh, I think that's the beginning of Route 66.
So that's the beginning of 66. So the fun starts here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pass,
Totally.
hard pass.
Hard.
I don't know if you guys can hear the insects.
There we go. There. So, just something that was occurring to me, so I figured I'd share it. As we're driving by all these fields of corn and soybeans, maybe.
Yeah, we think they might be soybeans. If anyone's watching from the Midwest, they're like, it's this! I don't know what it is.
So a lot of these fields have houses amongst them. I don't know if those houses own the land, or if it's like, if it's like the Tyson chicken situation where Tyson has contractors and their farms grow the chickens, but Tyson sets the prices and takes all the product. I don't know if corn works the same way, but every single one of these farms that we drive by, has a house and a barn and all that stuff. Not a single one of them is growing its own food. Not a single one. They have all this land. There's all this land. Not a single one of them has like a farm.
We haven't seen anything.
Like, there have been farms that we've driven by that they're obviously more homesteady. They, a handful of goats, some chickens.
But those are like.
But I think
there might have been
3 of them today.
Yeah. In 610 miles,
Yeah.
we've seen 3. I haven't seen 8 chicken since we started this journey.
Right.
Not one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one in Pennsylvania, and I'm sure they're there. But
Yeah.
out here, like, no backyard gardens, no vegetable garden. I haven't seen any vegetables except for corn and soybeans, or corn and legumes, or whatever they are.
We did see a market garden.
Yep.
There
Saw a market garden.
Market garden. But yeah, it blows my mind that these people have all this land, and they're still going to the grocery store, and that's wacky. And again, I don't know if any of these people actually own this land, or if it's owned by a big corporation, and these are the managers of the property.
Some of them
I don't know how it works, but like all of these little plots of land have enough land to have a farm.
Many times over.
Now, a consideration could be that they're poisoning their fields and they don't want to poison their own food, so they go to the grocery store.
Oh, and we drove by tankers, like mini tankers of ammonium hydrate.
Yep.
Or whatever, like liquid urine fertilizer.
Yeah.
Like, when I say like dozens and dozens and dozens, there was
it was like a
everywhere.
field of them, like literally like a parking lot full of these tankers. So yeah, I just thought that was a wacky
sad.
thing. As in such a rural area, because you think like rural area, everybody grows their own food. There's a lot of farms. There's a lot of
Like, and most of these farms are like, if one person has one of these farms, it's hundreds of acres.
yeah.
So if you set aside 2 acres and did 1 acre of like meat birds, like chicken, turkey, geese, and egg laying, and then did another acre of just rotating a few sheep,
Yeah.
that's your food. But
Yeah.
nobody, they don't even have like, there isn't even like a couple raised beds with some tomatoes.
It's weird.
It is really
But
weird.
I also feel like, again, you don't know what's going on to these fields in terms of chemical fertilizers and pesticides, and maybe they know and they're not really interested in eating that, and they know it's going to get on their gardens.
You know what?
I mean, that's a possibility. The other thing might be that they're so jaded by agriculture that they are not interested.
That's so sad.
You know, those are my only, like, I have no, like, actual
We don't really know if that's the case, but it seems like it. I'll tell you this.
of the situation.
I'll tell you this. If you've got a chemical that kills the insects in your field and your corn's growing in it, then you're eating that chemical.
Yeah.
Like, if you have, what was it? Salatin was talking about in his Salatin semester that we got, that we've been, working on. He talks about that there are things you can give cows, and I didn't know this, that will pretty much make their fecal matter sterile to the point where
It's all the antibiotics.
It's antibiotics.
Yeah, it's the
So the
antibiotics.
insects won't lay eggs in that because it's not food. So if it does that to an insect, what is it doing to you? But I've seen studies where people will put white bread down on a sidewalk from one of these fast food places, and the ants won't eat it because there isn't enough nutrients. It's just dead calories.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's what you give people to make them fat.
Yep. And that's one of the biggest issues that you run into in so-called food deserts. In a lot of cities, when your only option is like your Quickie Mart or whatever, your local convenience store, and that's where you get all your food from for your kids and for yourself if you're, just taking care of yourself. But it's one of the reasons that we're really interested in, once we get this system figured out, once we start working on it, eventually.
And we really are working on
creating. No, I mean physically.
When we have the ideal space.
When we have the system going, and we have been doing it.
I was clarifying that we're doing a lot of these practices already without even the system. And you can start. You don't have to wait to have a farm.
What I'm talking about is having acreage that we are growing soil and animals and plants on. And our goal is eventually to have plots of land set aside for inner city groups that are interested in learning agriculture, that want to come and learn and use the land and grow food for their community. We haven't worked with the logistics of that, but it's something that I'm really interested in because it is very much one of the biggest issues that you run into in a city is not having healthy food. People have a lot of health issues, partly due to the stress of living in an environment with a lot of people with not enough resources, and the not enough resources is the part that's important. You have people who are able to bring back those resources to their community and to share that information with their community to improve their health by providing them with healthier food options for not more money than they would be spending on chips or other fast food options that are, typically in the city. Because when you're going and getting the healthier food options in cities, they're also usually 2 or 3 times more expensive. It's silly. Anyway, that's my little rant.
No, but it's valid. It's all valid.
But you see that a lot in even rural areas too, as people don't understand how to use their land to best advantage. People stopped growing their own food, after the Great Depression. Our parents' generation didn't grow food. Their parents probably did if they were young during the Great Depression, because that was the only option.
That's how you ate.
You're growing your food. That's how you live. But then they didn't want their children to have to do that because that was a poor people thing. It's not a poor people thing. It's
a human thing.
It's we've done this for millennia. We evolved with the food that we eat. We evolved with the animals that we eat. They evolved with us.
Yep.
So we are all interconnected. We all work together And when you start separating us from our food systems, from our, from digging in the dirt and, handling manure and handling, food for different animals, then you lose a lot in your health. You lose a lot in your understanding of the world. Like, if you don't know what it takes to kill an animal, then it doesn't really matter when you eat a burger. You're just disconnected from that feeling. And then you think that killing a plant is less damaging.
Well, I mean, and aside from that is like when people talk about the reality of nature and how animals die in nature is a narrative that we've definitely get a photo. I've been looking at this sunset the whole time. One of these narratives that we've been lied to about for my entire life, if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, you remember Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom, and on every single episode they lied to you. They said, and the lion kills the zebra, and the zebra, quickly the zebra is dead. I'm like, well,
or
that's not true. And then, of course, the narrative is, and I'm not saying factory farming is good. Factory farming is terrible. But the narrative is that the animals who die in crowded and horrible conditions in factory farming have a worse existence. You haven't understood the gravity and horror, nature long and clawed and red in tooth, or whatever the phrase is, until you've seen it. Until you've seen a zebra disemboweled and dragging its entrails for hours, trying to die and being harassed by animals. We have lied to ourselves that somehow nature kills quick and clean, which is the first great lie, because that's not true. The second lie is that we didn't always do this. No, we did. And we can kill something way more clean than nature in general. And yes, we are part of nature, yes. But even more relevant, man, look at that. That is just incredible. Yeah, if you get a couple reference photos, I won't be sad. My thought, T's thought, is that someday we have a situation where we can actually, process an animal on site in a place where it lives. That's the way they're supposed to go. You wouldn't think that, but if you walk up, this is going to sound dark, and I apologize if it sounds dark, you could walk up to a group of cows with a bolt gun and do one of them. As long as you didn't remove them, the rest of them are just going to be like, why is Gary laying down? That's weird. Like, they don't respond the way you think they would, because you're thinking about animals in terms of the human mind.
Right.
But the animal isn't processed that way. For example, if you drag the animal away from the other animals, panic attack. They don't like that at all, because they're seeing what's happening. The animals standing next to each other, bolt gun in the head, they see Gary go down, they're like, I wonder what Gary's doing. They go back to eating. Eventually you go in and block the animal's vision, and then Gary disappears. They're not really phased. That's how they work. Like, I don't know how else to say that, and we should strive to do better when it comes to the animals, but there's a way to do this. These people out here who live here, who farm here, who don't even have their own food, would be so much more empowered if they weren't growing corn, if they were growing cows.
Yeah.
Which is why we're going to see Greg Judy, because in the middle of this insanity, that man is doing right by the soil, he's doing right by the earth, he's doing right by the animals, and he's doing right by his bank account. After that, it's kind of hard to find any flaw in what he's doing.
Yeah.
This is stunning. So, I know you guys can kind of make this out. I can see out of the corner of my eye that the screen is brighter than what we're seeing.
Oh yeah.
So we're on a dirt road. We're on a dirt road for miles. It's for miles. There's no speed limit signs. There's nothing. There's nothing for a long, long time. And what you're looking for, if you're me, is deer. Because they're crepuscular, and so they're active at dawn and dusk. That's what that means. Crepuscular. Jeez, I mispronounce every word. And so right about now, they're wandering around. Hopefully it's towards the end of them wandering around, but they can be nocturnal. If this was the rut, I would be driving even slower, and I'm pretty sure the speed limit on this road is somewhere around 40, and I'm doing 30. So it's this is different. As soon as the actual sun finishes going down, I think this is going to be about as dark gets, which is lovely, except for the fact that we're driving on a back road in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
So it's very abstract. I figured you guys would like this because you're friends with us and we're weird, so there's that.
The road does curve just a little bit, just in case you didn't.
The road's gonna curve, folks.
Yeah.
Holy smoke.
Yeah. Another 9 miles. This.
Another 9 miles of this. Is this, oh wait a minute, we just rolled onto pavement.
Yay, pavement!
Hey, kind of pavement.
I
Like,
mean, like it's mostly pavement.
it's mostly pavement. Yay!
It's bumpy pavement.
It's
but
bumpy
it's definitely
pavement.
pavement. So
That's different.
that's a plus.
Well, that does it right there, kids. There you go. I found the devil. He's in the middle of nowhere. I'm gonna get out and pee in the middle of the street. So after 13 hours and over 700 miles, we are at the hotel. We just gotta get the rest of our stuff, and it was a good day. It was a good day. It was a very accomplished day. So tomorrow we got 2 hours worth of drive, and that's it. We simplified everything out. Life is good. Got 2 beds, so hopefully the wife will let me sleep in one with her. Yeah, it is what it is. It's 9 o'clock and all is well. Central time, so it's 10 o'clock back in the East Coast. Thanks for the math, Jay. Yeah, you know how that works.